Welcome back to another video on our falling object game. In this video we're going to be looking at how to end the game and give the players some options to restart or quit and just kind of clean things up there to get a complete gameplay experience. So currently our game is pretty much complete. We can score points, we've got lives. When we run out of lives, we're making our player disappear, we're disabling him totally so that the game ends. So what we want to have happen is also at that time we would like to pop up something on our screen here with some buttons on it that would allow the player to play again or to quit the game. So that's going to be more UI that we're going to do, user interface, and that's going to have to do with our canvas. So in our canvas here, so far we've got two text boxes up at the top, but what we're also going to want to do now is add in some buttons, and I want to put these buttons on a panel just to give us a nice kind of an effect here. So I'm going to right click my canvas, I'm going to go down to UI, and I'm going to drop in a panel. And what a panel does is it's kind of like a window within a window almost. Right now when I put it, it's set to stretch to fill the whole entire screen. I don't necessarily want it to do that, so over here in the inspector, see it's set to stretch width and height. Let's go ahead and set it to center registration so it's not stretching, and then let's go out here and let's just drag in the sides here a bit. I'm doing this with the canvas tool or the rectangle tool there. So let's just establish kind of a spot in the middle here. Let's see how much room we're going to need. Let's see, we're at 0Z. Let's zero it out on the X here so it centers it. Let's go ahead and zero it on the Y here so it's just right in the center of my screen. Alright, so this is my panel, and I'm going to give it a name here. We'll just call this our game over panel. Okay, and then this panel can be used like a container, so I can actually add objects as children of the panel here, and then they'll stay locked into the panel and they'll move with the panel, and if I resize the panel they'll also move to stay at their anchor points. So we're going to want two buttons inside our panel here, so I'm going to right click the panel, go to UI button, and get myself a button here. Alright, so I'm going to kind of zoom in on that button here. And I'm just going to drag it over here to the side a bit. We might actually want to put some text in here as well. Let's drop a text in here too. So UI text, let's drag that up here a little bit more to the top, and we can make that a little bit bigger here, lock it into the center there, and this will be a message, just we'll say game over, nice and big in there. Right, like that, and we'll center that text. Let's center it both ways so it's in the middle of the box, and then let's just make it bigger. Actually, we could try best fit here. That might be a good use of best fit, which again just goes to look to see how we can best fit the space that we've allowed for it to have. Let's give it maybe a red color this time. Let's see, we can make this bold, make it a little bigger and bolder, and then if we want it to be bigger, we can just drag this guy a little bit bigger and see how that looks. Okay, again we can zero it on the X here just to keep it nice and centered in the middle of our game screen here, in the middle of our panel. Alright, so we've got game over, and then we're going to put a button down here, and we're going to need a button for playing again and a button for quitting. So buttons, if you look at the button here, it's got a little flip open arrow as well. Buttons have a text element attached to them. That's the text that's being displayed on top of the button. So buttons kind of have two pieces, the button itself and the text. So I'm going to go into this buttons text, and I'm going to change it to say play again. Okay, and again, this text is just like a text box. I can change all of the different settings here. Let's go ahead and give this maybe a red tinge as well for color, and we could turn on best fit if we wanted to, which really messed up there in my scene view. It looks okay in the game view. Let's turn that off there. Maybe we'll just mess with the font size right here. Let's try 25. 25 seems to fill the button. We could also go in here and drag our button. If we go to our button here, we could actually go in here and make our buttons a little bigger too. So maybe I make it just a little bit taller, just to be a little more bold and square. And then we'll say play again on that button there. We can also change the background color. So in the button here, we have our color, where we can just kind of change the color of the button to whatever we want. So we could leave it white like it is there. We could go in and kind of pick up some of the blues from our background if we wanted to. We can make it nice and bright, you know, whatever kind of color you want to use here. Just make sure it stands out against the background some. So maybe I'll do some sort of a light blue kind of a background there, because that kind of matches in with the other colors we have so far. And so we've got that button. And a lot of times if I'm making more than one button, I like to make one first and kind of get it the right size and font and coloring that I want, because then I can just duplicate that button and have another one that's already set up so that they're similar. Alright, so let's rename this guy right here to, we'll just call this play again button. And then let's duplicate this button. So right click it, duplicate, and then I can just drag that other button off of here and stick it over here somewhere to the side. And then let's rename this one here as quit button. Whoops, cap locks. Quit button, there we go. And let's take that one off the end there. Okay, so now I've got a quit button and a play again button, and then all I got to do is go into the text of the quit button and change this to say quit, like that, and everything is good. So I've got two buttons here now that are set inside this panel with the game over text up here. Matter of fact, you know what, maybe we should make that text a little bit bigger, and let's actually give this a name as well. This is my game over text. Let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger of a font there. Let's take the best fit off. Let's try to set it to something a little bigger. Let's try 70, looks good. There we go. So we'll just do that. Nice big and bold game over. Couple of buttons for it. If you're curious to see how it looks in widescreen, again, if you do shift spacebar while you're hovering over it, you'll get it in full screen. So I think that actually looks pretty good, just like that. We've got our panel here, and we've got the buttons, okay? Alright, so other things with our panel, let's go back to our panel here. We didn't talk about this too much, but there is a color for your panel, and you can actually tint this panel whatever color you want. It also has an alpha, so this is transparency. If I go all the way down here on the alpha, it disappears. If I go all the way up, it becomes opaque. So it is kind of nice to leave that to where it's mostly transparent, so that we can see through it pretty good. And again, I think the white blending with the blue background works fine for the color, but you could also change the color as well. Okay, so that's our panel all set up and ready to go with our two buttons. Alright, so next we want to only have this panel turned on and visible when the game is actually over. Alright, so when the game is playing, we don't want this to be here. So what we're going to want to do is kind of similar to what we do with the player at the end, but this at the beginning, we just want to make sure we turn that panel off. So we just want to disable the panel, and then when the game is over, we want to turn the panel on so it pops right into existence there in the middle of the screen. So let's save our scene so we don't lose our work that we just did on the panel, and let's figure out where we're going to tie this in to our scripts. Alright, so let's open up our player script in MonoDevelop. Player script right now is handling all of our UI. If we were going to get much more complicated with this game, I would probably split all the UI stuff out into a game manager object, make another script for it. But for now, we'll just kind of keep it all together here. So what we're going to need is a link to that panel that I just made. So let's make a public, and let's just make it a link to the game object, because to turn the panel on and off, we actually need to turn its game object on and off. So let's make a game object, and let's just call this our game over panel. So this will be our link to the game over panel in the scene. Alright, and once we have a link to that, then we can actually turn that on and off. So let's save our script and go out into Unity and establish that link. So I'm going to click in on my player, and in the script now I have a place for game over panel. I'm going to grab the panel right here and drag and drop him right in there. So that's got its game object. And then if I set the game object inactive, that will do this. That'll uncheck that box. So now back in our script, in the start function, when we first start, we're going to want to make sure somewhere in here that we turn the panel off. So turn off the game over panel, and we're going to do that by using the SetActive command we used on the player earlier. So first we give the name of the game object, so it's going to be game over panel dot SetActive, and then we have to tell it true or false. So we want it off, so that's false. So that will cause that panel to disappear when we hit play. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this line. Actually, let's just copy that comment too. And we need to turn this back on when the game is over. So let's scroll down to where we're doing all of that stuff. Here's our game over. So when game's over, we're making the explosion, we're setting the player to disappear, and then right here let's turn on the game over panel. So to do that, we just use the same line of code, but we just put a true in here instead, and that will turn that panel on. So let's go out and see what's happening here. So when I hit play, this panel should go away, and when I die with all my lives gone here, it should come back. So let's just see what happens. So here we are in our game, and yes, it did indeed disappear. Alright, let's get hit by a few of these guys, and there it is. We blew up, our player went away, but now our panel is here. And you notice now that I'm in play mode, when I hover over the buttons, you're getting a response. There's a hover over, color change, and they're clickable. They respond to clicks. They don't do anything yet, but we can see that they are active in the scene. Okay, so the next step then would be to actually make these buttons do what they're supposed to do, either play again or quit the game. So to do that, I need to set up a function in one of my scripts that has the commands I want to have happen when I click a button, and then I have to tell the button out here in Unity to run that function when it's clicked. So let's start with play again. And again, since player has been handling all this, we'll just put this in the player script. So in the player script here, we need to add another function. So we're just going to make this a void function. It's not going to return a value, and we're going to call this play again. Alright, and so what play again needs to do is it needs to restart the game. Okay, so we want to restart the game. And then let's put a note above here, play again will be called from the play again button in the scene. Okay, so we click the button, we're going to have it play again, and it needs to restart the game. So what are the steps to restarting the game? Well, the best thing to do here would probably be just to reload this level. We could, when we load a level, it basically throws away everything that's in the current level, and then it just reloads a whole new fresh one, which is what we want to have here. So we're going to need to add something to our script here. We need to add scene management to it. So that's another one of these usings up at the top. So this time we want Unity engine dot scene management. This one right here. This allows us to put all the different functionality in for loading levels and exiting levels and all sorts of things like that. So scene management is needed. So we're going to do that. What we can do here now to restart the game is we just need to go to our scene manager, and we want to load a scene. And the scene we want is the current one that we're in. So we can actually get the scene manager to tell us what that is. So if we go to scene manager dot, and then we're going to say get active scene, which is going to return the active scene. Now load scene needs the name of the scene. This is not going to give me the name, so I just say dot name at the end, and that should go out and get the current scene that we're playing in. It should get it by name and return that name here, and then scene manager load scene will just reload that scene. That should do the trick for us here. Now I'm going to save the script here. Now one more thing we have to do when we're loading scenes. We have to go into Unity, and we have to tell Unity which scenes it's okay to load. Alright, so that's going to be up in File, Build Settings. So File, Build Settings, and this thing says Scenes in Build. Well, I want this scene that I'm currently in to be in my Scenes in Build, because then I'm telling the Unity that yes, this scene is actually one that it's okay to load. So you can actually just add open scenes here. And since my main scene, this is the name of my my scene out here, my level, I called it main. When I hit that, it got added. So now that's in here. Okay, so you can tell it right here is the name of my scene, main.unity. So that's now added in. So so now that should all be set up to work. So the next thing to do is tie the play again button in to that function. Okay, so we do that out here in Unity. We're going to go to my play again button, and over here in the inspector there's a section that's called on click. This is to add a click event to my button. So when I click the button, what I want to have it do, I got to hit plus to add event, and then I have to get it to the script with the function that I want. So first I have to get it to the object. See, it says object here that has the script that has the function that I want to run. So the object is the player. So I'm going to grab my player and drag him down in here. Alright, so I'm telling the button, hey, go to the player, and then I want it to grab a script from it. So I've got to get my player script, because that's the name of my script, and then I've got to pick my function that I want. Okay, and you notice that it's not currently listed in here, and that's because I didn't tell the script that it's okay to share that function with anybody outside the script. So let's go back in there and let's take care of this. So if I want this script play again to be seen by anything outside of this function or outside of the script file, I need to make sure it's a public script. So I'm going to type public in front of here. That tells the scripting here that it's okay to let other people know about this function play again and to access it from outside the script. So I'm going to save that, go back over into Unity. Okay, I'm still on the button. Let's go here. Let's go to the player script. And now you see play again showed up in the list because it's a public function. It's accessible outside of the script. So I'm just going to select that. So now what I've told the computer here is when I click the play again button to go ahead and go into the player object, get the player script, and run a function called play again in that script, and that will cause my scene to reload. So let's test this out real quick and make sure we got it all hooked up correctly. I'm just going to let myself get hit 3 times here. Okay, now when I hit play again, it should restart my game. And there we go. It restarted. Everything went back to the way it was at the beginning, and we're off playing again. If I die again, same thing. I can just hit play again button here, and we restart. Okay, so that's play again. The other one is quit. So again, I need a script. In my script, I need a function. So let's make another function right here. Again, we got to make sure it's public so we can access it. It's not returning a type, so it's void. We'll just go ahead and call this quit. And then in the body here, we can say application.quit. And this is the command that will actually close the window. So this will close the window that the game is being played in. Alright, so when we're out playing our game in its finished build, it'll be playing in a window, and when we hit application.quit, that'll close that window and exit out the game. It'll terminate the game. Now, this does not work in the Unity editor. So, for instance, if I go in here and play it, and I die, let's see here. Oops, I got it. There we go. And I hit quit, it doesn't do anything here. Okay, of course I haven't tied the button in yet either, so maybe we should do that first, because it won't do anything if I don't tie the button in. So let's click on the quit button, again down to its on click section, hit the plus sign to add an event. Again, I need the object to put in here, and that was the player, because the player has the script with the function I want to run. Then from here I select the script, player script, and from here I select the function, which is quit. So let's try that again now that I've actually tied the button in. And if I die and I try to hit quit, you notice quit doesn't have an effect out here in the editor. Okay, but in the finished build, it will close the window that the game is playing in. You wouldn't really want this to close down Unity because you're still working in it, so it doesn't make sense to make it work here. But that will make the game actually quit. We can see that later when we go over how to actually build this game out into its finished version. Okay, so there we go. Now we can play again, and we can quit our game, and the base game here is, for all intents and purposes, done. So in the next video we'll talk about how we can take this base version and add things to it, retheme it, add in new features, and we'll talk about some different ideas for that next. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're enjoying the series. If you like what you see here, then please feel free to subscribe so that you get notifications when we put up new content. And as always, if you have questions or suggestions, put them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.